Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host Airsoft Al, and today we go through the time warp back to the great year of 2005 for my very first, and your very first probably, vintage review of the 2005 KWC 1911. Let's get, well, fuck it, I know a lot of you have been wanting to do this. Let's do the time warp! Now, before we get into this, I want to share a story with you guys. 2005 was definitely a year for yours truly because really a lot happened. PlayStation Portable was around. I remember getting my first PlayStation Portable. I had my GameCube. I actually, for the first time, was introduced to Freeman's Mind, Red vs. Blue, after it was finally completed. A lot happened for myself when I was young. And the thing I remember the most was seeing this. Now this is a vintage 2005 Springer KWC 1911. This, I checked the serial number, I checked everything out, even my buddy got it, said I got this back in 05. And really, this is probably the oldest gun in my collection. Besides, of course, the 2008 Thompson, which is right here on my left, but we'll get into that in a later video. But this right here is definitely one that everyone remembers back in the day. I remember people actually grabbing these up, and really, even though it's got the Crossman logo on it, which I hate with a passion, really, there's not a lot bad about it. In fact, it's held up pretty damn good through the years. It's in my friend's trunk. And really, it's still good, in my opinion. Would I rock this at an event? Yeah, I would, because the plastic on this bad boy is pretty durable. And the fact that it's lasted in the trunk of a car with bumps and all that good jazz, trip to California and back, it could probably hold out in a game or two. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, must have the 300 FPS. No. This, from what I've researched and everything else, this is actually a sub 300 FPS gun. But even then, I remember these clear as day when I used to go to Walmart. And believe me, I do. Hell, this little bad boy came in a bag. A baggie, mind you, with either 1,000 or 5,000 colored .12 BBs and a sticky target. And it was like neon red and blue or green and orange or something along that nature. And it was really fascinating for me. Hell, they had a gravity-fed clear Spaz 12 pump action airsoft gun right next to this for like $20 back then. And that was a lot for me. Hell, this alone was $10 back in the day. And this is me remembering vividly from my local Walmart when these used to be in stock. But nowadays, Walmart doesn't carry airsoft anymore, and that really fucking sucks. It really does. I wish they still carried airsoft. Because it make it a hell of a lot easier on my ass, because then I don't have to drive fucking to Tupelo to fucking Academy Sports and shit like that just to get the airsoft guns. But I am happy they still carry the BBs at least. I am happy they still carry BBs. And even then, there is a lot that I still remember. Hell, I remember the first time I got an airsoft gun, it was a SEMA AK LPEG with a mid-cap magazine. Or not an LPEG, no, it was actually a pretty decent little thing. But I broke it, and I didn't really know much about airsoft back then. I was probably young as young could be. And I really just shot it inconsistently. I was just stupid. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing back then. And really, that was it. And this gun here brings back so many good memories of that time when it was just simple and we just shot each other. We didn't wear iPro. We were just stupid like that. Oh, don't tell me you weren't stupid like that too. But what about this gun entirely? Does this hold up to today's standards? Well, yes. Yes, it does. The magazine design has not changed since then, and you can still buy these for relatively cheap. This is a 14-round, or if I remember correctly, a 12-round magazine that you can actually use. And the design is so simple that really a lot of other companies have copied the design to actually use their mags. Now, the UTG magazines themselves, they're actually full-size, almost full-size 1911 mags, but even then that's kind of all over the damn place. But as for this, I'm going to tell you now, it just brings back a lot of good memories. That's all it does. 2005 was definitely a year that I still love fondly because, let's face it, there wasn't any PC culture. There were no SJWs. There was no bullshit. We were going after Osama bin Laden. There were good shows on Cartoon Network. Great animes coming out at the time. And really, just a lot of good stuff. Now, as for the actual gun, and I know I keep going off to nostalgia land, I am sorry, guys. Just a lot of good memories from this gun. But either way, the gun is full polymer. It's actually clear plastic, which actually lends itself being good, because then you can actually see how the whole thing works. By actually pulling back, you can actually see that the inner barrel actually retracts. Then, as it gets to the full part, this right here comes up, and then you can actually see how it goes. Now, granted, that's from old age. And the trigger snap is just still there. I mean, and the best part is you can take this down. Like all KWC guns, you can take it down to actually swap out for a actual higher FPS upper. I'm not even joking. I have done this before. As long as you got a KWC 1911, be it the licensed Colt one or otherwise, it's going to work. Now what's really cool is that the way the mechanism works is it's just this simple thing right here that actually catches this right here when it retracts all the way back, which allows you to do that. Now, the cool thing about it is, let me just set this off to the side here, is that you can actually fiddle around with this. In its entirety, you can fiddle around with this because that's how it all works. Just boom. I honestly like mechanisms like this where it's just allows you to see that. And of course you can completely take down the gun, which I also like. A lot of modern KWCs don't allow you to do that. Like, completely take apart the gun, I mean. But I'm not going to do that on camera because, honestly, I don't want to do that. Now, the sights themselves, I actually do like. They're actually risen sights. They're not, like, terribly close to the body itself. You have a somewhat colored front post right there. And let's face it, it is really nice to get a sight picture on, basically, acquire a sight picture right there. Now, the safety itself is not fully ambi. It's based off of the 1911 government. It is there. But this one in particular, it's... See? Because of how old it is, you can actually do that, but it will not... Well, it won't. Because what this does is when you raise it up, the actual... trying to remember exactly. It actually causes the catch mechanism to actually either go down or completely disengage entirely. But when you put it down, the catch mechanism will come back up, and, well, in its entirety, it'll do what it does. Now, of course, for the for the FPS test, I'll be using both .12s and both .2s, because back then we didn't use the .12s. We didn't know what weight BBs were back then. We were just like, oh, this is so cool. Just stupid as can be, but really. I'm going to load the magazine up for .12s. We're going to fire it for the chronograph, and we're going to see what the FPS is. And then we'll put .2s through it, and we'll see what the FPS of that is. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I've got, ironically enough, these green .12s. These actually are the same type that the gun would have originally came with, I believe, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, we got it set for .12s. Let me set these to the side. Alright, so let's see what the FPS is. 269, 276, 273, 275, 280, and that's it. So we're getting a consistent FPS of 280. Now let's load up some .2s and see how it does that way. .2s, here we go. Okay. We got error. 202. 201. 202. So roughly around 200 FPS with the .2s. Now granted, that's still impressive for a Springer from '05 of all things. So, I'm not going to be giving a rating on this. I'm just going to adjust you guys a little bit because you guys are way up over here. But either way, all I can say is, if you can find one, grab it. Put it in your collection. It's definitely something to get, and it's definitely a piece of Airsoft history that we have to keep alive, as well as continuing to remember Airsoft's past. Because a lot of kids nowadays getting into Airsoft don't know about Airsoft's past. They don't know about the older generation. The fact that all we had was Springers and I believe non-blowbacks. Even then, I'm still reading up on Airsoft's past. But seriously, if you can, and you find an old dog of Airsoft, sit down with them, let them tell you their story, and definitely remember it. As always, guys, I've been Airsoft Al. And let's jump ahead about 3 years, shall we? Let's go to the year of 2008, and we'll talk about an AEG that nowadays is being reshelled for a more tactical version of itself. Till next time, guys.